If you looked out the window this week in the Boston area, you observed lots of driving rain, heavy, steady, unrelenting rains, streets flooded, strong winds, umbrellas turning inside out, the whole city wrapped in gray. But then, just as suddenly, the rain stopped, the sun came out, the clouds parted, and there it was, a rainbow stretching over the skyline. Twice this week, and once tonight on the way here, I enjoyed a front seat to nature's display of colors. It felt biblical, like the world itself was reminding us of this week's Torah portion, Parashat Noach. For this week, we read of the most famous rainstorm of all time, 40 days and 40 nights of rain, the great flood that covered the earth. But exactly like our own region this week, that story doesn't end with rain either. It ends with a rainbow. The flood story begins in darkness and destruction, but it concludes with full color and a covenant, with light refracted through the clouds. It is a story about how we find hope and devastation, and how God renews a relationship with our world. The rainbow symbolizes God's promise never to destroy the world again by water. And if you think about it, this is one of the patterns of life itself. The storms come, sometimes violently. They can overwhelm and isolate us. We are swamped with responsibilities, overcome with obligations, so many things to complete. We are tired. How often does life feel like a mabul, a flood of noise, confusion, negativity? Every time we glance at our phone and turn on the news, it feels like waves of anger, fear, and chaos are raising higher and higher. We try to hold on to something solid, our family, our friends, our faith, our sanity, but the waters keep on coming. Eventually, the clouds dissipate, and we begin to see light again. Our human story, like the story of Noah, is not just about destruction. It is about the movement from darkness to light, from fear to faith, from a flood to the rainbow. This week, I spent time thinking about the alternation of darkness and light, and I noticed that tucked inside the Noah's Ark narrative are two small poetic details about how Noah experiences light. Two different words found in this week's Torah portion for the word window. First, God instructs Noah to build the ark and says, Tzohar ta'aseh lateva. Make a tzohar, a window for the ark. And then, a couple of chapters later, toward the end of the story, when the rain has stopped and the waters recede, it is written, Vayhi miketz arba'im yom vayiftach Noach et hachalon. And after 40 days, Noah opened the chalon, the window of the ark. Two words, tzohar and chalon. Both are translated as windows, but they are not the same. Our sages teach us that the tzohar was not a window as we know it at all. Imagine Noah and his family sealed inside the ark, surrounded by endless rain. The words from Genesis indicate that Noah and those with him were actually shut inside the ark. They cannot even see the horizon. They don't know when the waters will end. The word tzohar occurs 24 times in the Hebrew Bible. In every other occurrence, it has the sense of noon, midday, tzoharaim in Hebrew, the time of day when light is actually at its brightest. In addition, the location of the source of light is important. It seems like it was a type of skylight above, in contrast to the door, which was on the side of the ark. This seems to point to some kind of opening above with some transparent covering so that light could be admitted into the ark. However, an ancient Hebrew source also indicates that the tzohar may have been something else altogether. It is actually imagined as a very large pearl or gem that Noah hung in the rafters of the ark, which powered itself and illuminated the inside of the ark. I think of this as Noah's nightlight. Within that claustrophobic space, there was a small source of light, the tzohar, reminding them that even in isolation, God's light still shines from above. In contrast to this first mysterious source of light in the ark, whether it was a skylight or shining jewel, the chalon that is mentioned toward the end of the portion is similar to a window as we know it. More common, it is mentioned 31 times in the Hebrew scriptures and is used all the time in modern Hebrew. After the flood, Noah, we are told, opens the chalon to the outside world. This window's function was not to provide light to help Noah and those inside the ark survive the flood. Rather, this was about reaching outward after the flood. And through the chalon, the window, Noah, as we know, sends out a raven and then a dove. Through the chalon, he begins to look beyond the walls of the ark to the big world outside to search for signs of renewal. For me, the difference between these two types of windows offers us a message about how and where we find light in darkness, and where these various lights exist for us here on earth. Perhaps the tzohar represents inner illumination, just as this window was seen either as a skylight or a shining gem that lit up the interior of the ark. This is the light that sustains us when the world outside is dark. The window that is referred to while the flood was happening was needed to provide a special kind of light, an inner light, an inspiration to Noah and the others on the ark. This is the light of faith, resilience, and hope that we cultivate during the stormiest moments of our lives. The chalon, the second window, symbolizes our ability to look beyond ourselves, a vision outward that is infinite. This window provides the light that gives us courage to look beyond the storm and believe that we and the world can begin again each day. For Noah and his generation, this light was the light of renewal, of recreation, the promise of starting over, a second chance to live better. The tzohar and the chalon are two stages of spiritual or divine light. Both provide us with what we need for our inner lives to thrive and for our broader vision and sight to see the world through a lens of hope and possibility. And yet, we would be remiss if we didn't mention our final source of divine light in this week's Torah portion. When Noah finally steps out of the ark onto dry land, God paints the sky with a keshet, a rainbow, the ultimate window connecting heaven with earth. If you think about it, the rainbow is God's own Sohar and Chalon combined. Like the Sohar, the rainbow radiates light, refracted through the darkness. Like the Chalon, the rainbow opens outward, a vision of divine promise and peace. Where are we in this narrative? The Talmud teaches a person should not pray except in a room that has windows. Why? Windows connect the people inside the sanctuary to God's world outside. From this, we learn that prayer should never be confined to an indoor space, but should also be open to a deeper appreciation for nature and the vastness of creation. When we look through the windows of our sanctuary, we enjoy the light of nature. Windows also prevent insularity. They are to remind us that the Jewish community is part of a larger world. We are encouraged to look outside to those who are shut out or unable to join us. Windows help us welcome them in and foster a sense of community and empathy. When we look through the windows of our sanctuary, we bask in the light of community. Finally, windows encourage transparency and engagement. Windows, as we know, work in two ways. For someone outside, a window offers a glimpse into our place of prayer and life, inviting curiosity and connection. For us, for members of the congregation, windows stand as a reminder that our prayers may begin with us and may originate in this room, but are meant to inspire action out there in the world. When we look through the windows of our sanctuary, we bring light to the world. Ken Yehi Ratzon, be this God's will.